Hey everyone, Decatur Wilson here. Thank you for joining us on The Freed Mind. We got Dr. Beth Wilson and AJ Johnson along with Shaunby Marshall. They're going to be discussing mental health in the Black community. Really impactful stuff, super informational. I hope you enjoy.
So we all know that there's definitely a stigma when it comes to mental health in general. With that stigma, when it comes to the Black community, there's definitely a resistance to getting mental health services. And I know with working with both of you that we see that often in within our business as well. So I just wanted to kind of open up the floor and have, Shaunby, we'll just start with you with what you see, where that resistance may come from, and just kind of how you see that playing out when it comes to therapy and getting the help that people need.
I think that a lot of the resistance actually comes from lack of knowledge, honestly. What is truly out there for us? We don't get the resources. We don't get the educational pieces. We even get, lack of health care. Sure. We have so many barriers in our way because we just don't have the knowledge and we just don't know. And I feel like that's our biggest barrier is the lack of knowledge of what to do and what mental health actually is.
What it really is.
A lot of people view mental health as, an illness, as something.
Weakness.
Yeah, back up off of it. It's demonic. It's something, wrong with them. And that's not what mental health is. Mental health encompasses so many things. You don't have to be in distress to need to talk to someone.
Absolutely.
Life happens every day.
Every day. That's good.
And AJ, go ahead. You can share. And I know you said it's a weakness. That's something.
Oh yeah,
you mentioned.
Especially we see it in our communities all the time. I've been in this field for about 15 years. So, and that weakness, in the Black community, especially with the Black males. I mean, we don't want to appear weak. We don't. First of all, and another thing that I know as a Black male is, I don't really know how to express myself. I do, but a lot of Black males don't know what to say, how to open up and express themselves. So I think that the environment of talking to someone is intimidating. Sure.
I agree with that, but I also think that not just weakness for Black males. It's interesting you said that because I would have never thought about a Black man feeling weak. Because they appear so domineering and strong. Right. You know what I mean? So for us women, I know for us is, we're in front of the kids, we're concerned about everything, how we appear in society, how we appear with, our family members, how we appear with our kids, how we show up. And if we are allowed to be vulnerable or show any kind of emotion, then it's like, oh my gosh, you're automatically assumed weak.
Right. Wow.
Good.
Strength is viewed very different.
That's good. That's a good thing to point out for sure.
Yeah.
And I know also we talked about where it comes to that discomfort and it being intimidating. What can help that environment? Is there something you guys feel that can help that environment? As for me, as a white female professional, so I know I can't relate. I will never be Black, and I will never know what it's like, right? So what can we as professionals, but also as a client coming in, how can we help that, break down that barrier and help people feel more comfortable on the professional side, but also allow a person to come in with an open mind to feel more comfortable?
Yeah. I think education, first of all, to educate more. I personally have worked with adolescents the majority of the time, and I know that, just the school approach with that, just to put that information out there to let them know. And we can, you can also reach parents through their kids because parents care about their kids. So parents are willing to come to sessions if you get your kids in there. If we can find a way to just do a community approach to it and put education out there more with that.
I agree with that.
That's good.
I definitely think that touching the heart of the kids, because the kids are our future, right?
Yep.
And so we want to break those generational thinking patterns and those stigmas around what mental health looks like. And if we can start with the babies.
That's right. Yeah.
Why not? You're right.
Yeah, parents care about their kids. Parents care about their kids, and they're willing to go in an uncomfortable situation to help their kids through that anxiety that they see their kids feeling, or that depression, or what. Sometimes parents can't even identify. I've had parents come to me and say something's going on. I have no clue.
Right.
And I've had parents tell me when I have a family session, no, I never thought I would sit in on a session, but this was good. I feel good.
I think it even extends further to you made a very interesting point, Beth. I would never be black, right? As a Caucasian woman. And think about how many of those people touch our kids every day in the school system. And they don't have the cultural competency either to even understand what behavioral symptoms look like, what anxiety and depression may look very different in the black community than it does in any other community. And it's not to say that it's better or what, you know, sometimes it comes about a little bit more aggressively.
Yeah.
And I can be honest about that. Sometimes it does appear to be aggression, but in reality, it's anxiety, or we're depressed, or maybe it is a little bit of ADHD. It could be a number of different things. Yeah. It doesn't always have to be what we always get is oppositional defiance. They're poorly behaved. Right. And we now need to fix them and put them into this cookie cutter mentality of what a person is supposed to look like or behave like. But we're all different, aren't we? We are. Uniquely made, right? We are. So why would we behave the same? Right. We don't react the same. That's so true. And that's okay. And we have to be okay with saying and seeing those differences and saying it's okay. Right.
And you brought up a good point, Shaunby, too, in the beginning when you said, you know, it's hard, and where you feel that there may be some resistance is because, wow, now I have an illness. So you see mental illness as an illness. And when we've spoken before, it was, well, if you have a heart condition, you're going to continue to go to the doctor to get your heart checked every month or however often they want you to come get your heart checked. So what's the difference when it comes to your mind and how the body works together? Can you just touch on that a little bit of what you're...
Well, sometimes, okay, so I like to look at a whole body approach. Wellness is not just physical.
Sure.
It's definitely mental. A lot of our illnesses derive from the way we think, the way we perceive situations, the way we handle situations, our life experiences. You know, things happen. Life happens every day. And we don't always have the tools to handle them properly. And sometimes it may show up with soreness in our back, or, you know, we have ongoing consistent headaches, or whatever the case may be. There's so many different things that can show up. And we don't even equate it back to, oh, I have all of this going on in my life. My blood pressure may be elevated because I just went through 3 deaths in my family. And I have not sat and processed them. It's just, we have to take the time to actually go back and look at what is going on. Stop for a minute. Life is so fast paced that we don't get the option to just stop and take a step back and say, hey, let me check in with myself. Yeah. Where am I at with this? Right. How am I handling these things? It's important. I suffered from depression for 2 years, severely. And I actually had to take a step back and say, reevaluate life. Like, I had a number of things happen, and I had to really take a step back and say, hey, the first woman in my family, black woman in my family, to seek therapy. My family did not believe in therapy. They just started to believe in therapy because of me. Right. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to be that person and change the generational patterns that we have started in our family. It's a great thing. And I love the direction my family is going in.
That's
awesome.
Powerful.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And some of the statistics that we pulled that we kind of read through before we met today were some related to suicide attempts, suicide completion. We know overall they're up across the nation, unfortunately. And specifically in the African American community, it's up as well. And there, even though completion may be about the same, the amount is it like 63% higher rate of black individuals attempting suicide. It's 63% higher than it's been. So that's a concern also, of course, within the community. So what we know, there has to be a first step, right? It's just identifying and acknowledging that I need to go talk to somebody and I need some help. Would you say within the black community that it's even a struggle to go to your parent and let them know, I think I need to talk to somebody, or to go to a friend and say, I think I'm struggling?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think that's the important part of seeking counseling is to learn how to communicate within the family, right? Sure. For a parent to say, you know what, that was my bad. I was wrong about that. You know, for a parent to appear human and not just the authoritarian. you know, because a lot of our kids, you know, that I've worked with along the way, they don't know how to talk to their mom or their dad because all they're gonna probably hear is hush, don't ask me no questions. You know, they're not allowed to express themselves and their feelings to their parents. So what makes you think that I'm going to go out here and express it to everybody else? I'm just going to put that hood on my head, which I see a lot, and just disappear. You know, so if you don't have that technique, that communication skills, just to say, hey, you know, Mom, when you said that, it really hurt my feelings. You know, that's healing. That's healing. You know, I had a parent come back to me one time when I was working with her child for a while. He was completely shut down, and she came back and she was crying. She said, you know, he told me that I hurt his feelings, and at first I didn't know what to do with it.
Sure.
I had no idea. I was about to say, boy, go ahead, you don't have no feelings.
Right.
But then I thought about what you worked with me on in the family session without him. And I remembered to sit down and talk to him, and that was the most beautiful conversation I ever had. It changed the course of our relationship.
Right.
So just that communication piece, just allowing us as parents, allowing our kids to see that we are human, and, you know, we make mistakes. I can apologize if I do something wrong. I can apologize to you and say, you know what, I probably shouldn't approach you that way. I had a rough day, and I probably came at you a little wrong.
Yeah, I don't think we were ever allowed to be vulnerable.
No.
And that, of course, goes way, way back because, you know, we'll put it out there, slavery, where we're allowed to be vulnerable, we're allowed to express our feelings. No, we did it through hymns and song. And that's why religion is such a huge part of our culture, because that was the only way we could communicate our pain. And even if you listen to gospel music today in the black community, it all is about pain. It's very different versus when you listen to Caucasian gospel artists, it's about empowerment and motivation. But our empowerment and motivation comes through pain. Why is it okay to be in pain all the time? Why do we allow ourselves to feel like we have to struggle? Struggle is not success.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a way of life. One reason why I chose to become a marriage and family therapist is because I saw the black community myself breaking up families in the black community after divorce. And I said, no, this is not what I want for our community. It's not even what I want for myself.
Right. And that sounds like, with you all talking about that, if with divorce being what it is overall, right? And it's specifically within the black community, but that's almost something the kids are learning. So our next generation is already learning, I don't have a voice, I don't have feelings, I can't be vulnerable, I'm not going to share whatever happens at home. Don't talk to anybody about that. What happens at home stays at home. So, so now I can't share. So now we're raising that generation, these elementary age kids, middle school, high schoolers, not to talk. And so it's just continuing.
Yep. But I think the vulnerability piece is huge in our community, because we don't get to be vulnerable. And we oftentimes don't even know what vulnerability looks like, because our parents didn't know, so they didn't teach us.
Right.
So it's a whole new concept. Yeah, it becomes a cycle until someone decides to say, hey, my feelings matter. I'm going to scream it out loud. And it's it happens every time.
Yep.
And, you know, either they accept it or they become ostracized, and that's a huge thing, too.
Right. You know, getting back to the statistics that Dr. Beth just read off about the black community and the increase of attempts of suicide, you know, music is another part of that. Have you listened to some of the music sometime?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I can barely listen to it because you can't understand it.
Right. They have these headphones in their ears, and I always will pull my students aside and say, hey, what you listening to? Tell me what you listen to. I'm gonna pull it up on my computer, and I'm like, this is what you're listening to going from class to class? Now think about it. How is that making you feel in this class? Sure. You know, some of them are talking about suicide or not wanting to be here or overdosing on different type of medication, and it's just feeding themselves medication, you know. So that is, to me, that's the number one thing, what you're listening to every day. So I always talk to my parents about, you know, maybe hear what your kids are hearing. Right. If your kids are listening to music, ask them what they're listening to and ask them questions about it. Don't say, don't listen to this. Absolutely. Now you're creating a different thing. Create that conversation, because a lot of times, you know, what our kids take in, TV, but mostly that music, that's where those thoughts come from.
Everything is, again, about struggle and pain. Like, we have normalized struggle.
Right. Yeah. And I've even had a lot of kids that'll say, when I feel sad, I listen to sad music just to make me cry, to get me as low as I could go, and then I'll start feeling better. And
it's like to me, it's like an addiction.
Sure. Sure.
It's an addiction to that down in the I call it down in the rabbit hole. That's what I talk to my clients, and it's just going down in there and just get as deep as you can go, and just stay there and just close yourself up in your rooms. So, like I said, as parents, we have to make sure that we're in tune of what's going on with our kids. But as parents, we have to come and seek some guidance too, and
Absolutely.
that's okay.
Right.
I agree with that. I said if you're going to put your kid in counseling, you should be in counseling too. Because you guys need to be working simultaneously towards common goals.
And that'll make you both work harder.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yep.
And one of the statistics we spoke about a little bit before, and AJ made a comment to, is 40% of people within the African American community will seek counseling. And your comment was, wow, I can't believe it's that high.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, that's so low. I was thinking, where it's usually around 60 or so % within the majority of the community. So what was the reason for thinking that 40% was high?
I don't see it.
You don't, yeah?
I don't see it, and like I said, I've been in this field for 14, 15 years. I don't see it. I don't hear it. I don't see it. When I'm out there in my community, it's still a thing. Now, it's better. It's better because you have a lot of these, Hollywood stars that's speaking on it now. We have apps that, you can discreetly go to. So it's more information out there. But 40% still shocked me because I don't see it. I'm happy to hear it. Yeah. I'm ecstatic to hear it, but I don't see it,
I don't have 15 years in, but I do have a lot more African American, mostly women.
Sure.
And their children coming in.
That's awesome.
Not the men, but at least if we can get one in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because one will at least teach the other. And, I'll take that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome. And I have a lot more younger generation, the 20-year-olds and the fresh out of high school trying to transition into young adulthood, which is great because, they're like, hey, I don't know who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. I know I'm going to college, but now what? Who am I? I've been who my parents wanted me to be for the last 17, 18 years, and now I have to figure out me. And so it's been really, I love it, honestly, and I'll take 40% any day, because it's a wonderful thing when coming up, I knew nothing about mental health.
Yeah.
Sure.
I knew nothing about therapy. I wish I did as a young child.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Sure, yeah.
Game changer.
Life would have probably been totally different for me. You know what I mean?
Be giving them coping skills.
Absolutely.
And I guess the skills and have someone to talk to, right? To talk you through these transitions. I always say there are a lot of transitions in life that we all went through with no guidance.
Yeah.
Right.
Middle to high school is huge.
Super huge.
Middle to high school is huge. That's a huge transition, but especially when you're going from high school and transition to college or wherever else to become an adult. So that is a huge that's a huge transition that if I had some guidance, because my parents died around that time.
Right.
So I had my mom and dad passed away a year apart, my senior and freshman year of college. So imagine what that was.
Wow.
I was angry. I was just feeling all different type of ways.
Yeah.
If I had somebody to sit down and talk to, I'm thankful that I end up being who I am.
Sure. Yes. You're
But
great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
But that transition is huge.
It is.
So.
And this kind of brings us full circle to in the beginning where the stigma around I have a mental illness, I'm diagnosed with something. I feel like a lot of people get lost in that diagnosis feeling that that's who they are. Like that's my identity. I'm anxious. I have this where it's not, I suffer from anxiety, but that's that's them. And so just talking about life transitions, adjustments, those types of things, that's life, right?
That's life.
Like we said, we all go through stresses, we all go through stuff, and it doesn't mean we're diagnosed and we're doomed. It means we're living, which is a great thing.
Exactly.
So how do we get help during that process? So it's really good.
Yeah. The funny thing is I tell my clients, I say, oh, how long has anxiety been sitting beside you? You've been walking with anxiety for a long time. How are those symptoms affecting you? Yeah. Seems like it's keeping you back from a lot of things. And they'll be like, it's like an aha moment, like, you know what? You're right. I'm like, well, do you just want to leave them for a while? And then, if you come back next week, maybe they'll still be here. And if not, is that okay? And he'll, I never looked at it like that. And it just changes the whole perception of what a diagnosis actually means. And to be honest, everyone experiences anxiety.
Yes.
Everyone experiences depression. You know, everything is on a spectrum. Life happens and it brings about the symptoms. It doesn't mean that they stay with you forever.
Sure. Right.
They're just heightened in that moment. So it feels very, almost like suffocating. And it's okay. I think that's why, at least that's why I was called to be a healer. I mean, I love people enough to try to help them through, you know, our mind, because we can really get stuck in our mind.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're our biggest barrier sometimes.
Yeah.
It is. And it's giving ourselves permission to heal.
Absolutely.
You know, giving ourselves permission to start that process.
Right.
And to say, it's okay for me to feel like this. This did happen, and this is okay for me to feel like this. Oftentimes, I feel like in the Black community, we're not allowed to feel. We're just supposed to deal, oh, it happened, move on.
Just move on.
But we never get to deal with it and actually feel the feelings and understand the feelings and be able to express the feelings. And if it does come across as anger, then it's, oh, you're aggressive. Like, no, I'm just hurting.
Right.
And I just need some love and compassion, some care right now. And we don't recognize that to give it because we don't understand the vulnerable piece.
Right.
So but it becomes a cycle. And hopefully we can, my goal is to break it.
Right.
Well, I'm happy at the route that we're going. Like I said, 40%, and you saying you seeing more, that warms my heart, you know, because that means that we're starting, a change is coming with that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about it too.
That's good stuff.
I get excited when they say, hey, I'm glad it's someone like me. I chose you because you are like, I can relate. I can talk to you how I want to talk to you in my language.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I know, right? That's great.
What are we doing here?
That's great. That's why
But
I
it's
love
pretty
it.
cool because, I mean, I know I probably would have felt really good as a young girl sitting across from someone that looks like me and say,
Sure.
this is normal.
Representation matters.
Yeah.
Representation is huge.
Right. That's great. That's really good. And that's one reason why we're here on The Freed Mind, is really just to bring that awareness so people can listen to this and know there's people there to support you, to help you, just in not only in the mental health community, but hopefully just within friendships, it sounds like. I mean, you even having friends around you to support you, just being that consistent person, and truly that being able to be vulnerable, to go to therapy, it does bring freedom.
Yeah.
It brings freedom within you, within your mind, and the way our mind connects with our body and the whole self, and how you can start seeing healing is a great thing. So
As a whole.
it's really cool. So thank you so much, Shaunby, AJ, for coming and joining me here today on The Freed Mind. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments, questions, topics you'd like us to touch on in the future, please leave a comment. We'd love that. And we'll have an email address here at the end of the show as well. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next time.